Brett was unaware that his departure for a 3-month business journey would inadvertently place his family in significant peril. Would there be anyone to welcome him back? The saga of the Anderson family gained international attention. The Anderson family epitomized the quintessential American household. Tina and Brett Anderson, the dedicated parents, worked tirelessly to ensure a comfortable life for their children, Ethan and Hannah. Ethan was fond of fishing, racing, video games, and spending time with his peers. Meanwhile, Hannah Anderson, a typical 16-year-old from California, embraced dancing, social media, and cheerleading. Like many of her age, she remained oblivious to the world's concerns, never imagining harm could come to her or her loved ones. Unbeknownst to them, a sinister observer lay in wait, ready to pounce when least expected. Tina had previously been married briefly before meeting Brett, following her first marriage's dissolution. She was vivacious, with a passion for dance and fitness, always on the lookout for thrilling activities and a significant other to share her adventures. Brett, intelligent, diligent, affable, and generous, instantly connected with Tina, and their friendship quickly blossomed into romance. Brad was employed in the telecom sector at the time. Their union was sealed, and by autumn 1996, they were expecting their first child. The Andersons' home, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath townhouse, buzzed with anticipation from friends and family for the arrival of Brad and Tina's daughter, making the event momentous for all involved. Hannah Marie Anderson arrived on July 22, 1997, a true delight with her striking blue eyes and fair hair. Her birth was a celebratory milestone for the Andersons and their circle. The couple often hosted loved ones for barbecues and celebrations, fostering a tight-knit sense of community. Brett's best friend, James DiMaggio, affectionately known as Uncle Jim, was deeply integrated into their lives, joining Brett for numerous outdoor adventures. While Hannah initially joined her dad and Uncle Jim, she later gravitated towards spending more time with her mother and friends, leaving Ethan to accompany the men. Born on October 8, 2004, Ethan reveled in learning sports and fishing with his dad, showing early signs of being a brave and charming boy. Jim DiMaggio, amidst a challenging divorce, found solace and support with the Andersons, reflecting their innate kindness and propensity to aid those in need. In 2009, Jim acquired a property of his own, nestled in the serene Mountain Empire area, southeast of San Diego, California, roughly an hour away from where the Anderson family resided. The residence was a picturesque 2-story log cabin, complete with a detached 3-car garage. With fewer than 400 inhabitants in the vicinity, the locale was essentially rural, making it an ideal spot for a hunting retreat. Once his home was fully equipped and decorated, Jim invited Brett, Tina, and their kids to use it as a getaway whenever they wished. During this period, Brett was heavily invested in his work to support his family, resulting in his frequent absence from home. Tina, too, was occupied with her job and the upbringing of their children. Hannah had blossomed into a typical teenager, craving independence and hardly ever seen without her phone, a staple in her social media-driven life. Despite his busy schedule, Brett was vigilant in ensuring his daughter steered clear of undesirable influences and remained within his protective reach. Hannah's closest companion was Marissa Chavez. The duo shared numerous similarities and were virtually inseparable, both reveling in dance, cheerleading, hairstyling, dressing fashionably, applying makeup, and chatting about boys. They thrived on being the center of attention. Hannah was intelligent, daring, joyful, and outgoing. She epitomized a spirit free of worries. Brett and Tina encouraged their daughter's journey towards greater independence. Alongside her own interests, Hannah dedicated time to coaching younger cheerleaders and bonding with her brother. By 2013, Hannah was navigating her sophomore year in high school in Lakeside, while Ethan was enrolled in Linda Lake Elementary School. Around this time, Brett faced challenges at work, prompting a search for new employment opportunities. In April, he landed a promising job offer, albeit one that necessitated extended time away from home. After a discussion with Tina, they agreed to seize this opportunity. Brett embarked on his journey to Tennessee, committing as a caring father to return for Hannah's 16th birthday celebration, an occasion he refused to miss. With Brett away, Tina leaned more on their network of friends and family for support. Jim DiMaggio, despite grappling with his own financial woes and the imminent risk of foreclosure on his house, offered assistance, considering a move to Texas as a potential solution. Nonetheless, Brett's absence didn't hinder Jim's involvement with the Anderson family. He frequently transported Hannah and Ethan to their activities, engaged them in entertaining activities, effectively becoming a secondary paternal figure. Additionally, he opened his home for Hannah and her friends as a hangout spot, offering a break from parental supervision. Jim established clear boundaries: no boys, no access to his bedroom, and overlooked other minor transgressions to ensure a safe environment for the teenagers. While Brett was away in Tennessee, the absence of his family weighed heavily on him. He made it a point to call them every other day, eager to catch up and ensure their well-being. Brett also kept in touch with Jim, briefing him on his new professional challenges and entrusting him with the safety and support of Tina and their children. In the mornings, Tina would drop Hannah off at the lively cheerleading gym, where she dedicated her time to mentoring younger enthusiasts. Come 4 p.m., Tina was expected to pick Hannah up and bring her back home. Hannah, having wrapped up her coaching session, waited outside, anticipating the drive home to reconnect with Marissa, who was anxiously awaiting a message from her that unfortunately never arrived. Around 8 p.m. on a Sunday, a call was made to the San Diego County Sheriff's Office by a local from the Mountain Empire community, reporting a residence ablaze. The fire consumed not only the main house, but also a smaller structure nearby. Firefighting teams exerted all efforts to douse the flames, yet the fire raged beyond immediate control. In a town of modest size, this incident was notably significant. Nonetheless, this fire was merely the precursor to a more grim series of discoveries. The upper story of the dwelling had completely caved in. Additionally, a gray SUV parked in the vicinity was caught in the conflagration. It took the firefighters close to 2 hours to subdue the fire. Despite the fire station's proximity, merely a 3-minute drive away, it was only after the flames were tamed that the firemen commenced a thorough inspection of the remnants to check for occupants. As they surveyed beyond the main structure to the smaller adjacent building, a firefighter spotted an anomaly, a strip of green tarp. A closer examination revealed 2 legs protruding from the entrance of the detached garage, with a body underneath the tarp, face downwards, the upper portion melded with the tarpaulin, obscuring immediate identification of gender. The fire's intensity in this section was lesser, yet sufficient to fuse the tarp to the victim's hair, skin, and skull. The scene beneath the body, smeared with a significant quantity of blood, indicated a pre-fire struggle. The attire and hair suggested a female victim, whose demise was clearly under sinister circumstances. Rope bindings around her figure, duct tape wound multiple times around her mouth and neck, and her ankles tied with white plastic rope suggested restraint. Adjacent to the woman's remains was a sleeping bag, under which lay a small brown dog, seemingly shot. The burnt SUV's license plate traced back to Tina Anderson, leading to the grim assumption that her remains were discovered in the garage. The arrival of the medical examiner led to the uncovering of a grievous throat injury on turning the body over. The news shattered Brett upon receiving a call from the police, informing him of Tina's death under violent conditions. The revelation left Anderson reeling, unable to grasp the brutal fate met by his wife in the garage, potentially alongside his best friend, amidst unknown whereabouts of Jim and his children. Brett's sense of powerlessness was profound, tormented by his absence during his family's time of need. Learning that the dog involved was Callie, their cherished family pet, compounded the horror, making it unfathomable that such cruelty could be inflicted on Tina and Callie. Upon initiating their investigation, detectives discovered that the victim, Tina Anderson, a 42-year-old woman, had a 16-year-old daughter named Hannah and an 8-year-old son, Ethan, both of whom were missing. The charred residence was owned by a close family acquaintance, 40-year-old James DiMaggio, who had also vanished, along with his blue Nissan bearing California license plates. Brett immediately boarded the earliest flight to San Diego. Although he was reluctant to cast suspicion on his best friend, The fact that Tina's body was found in his garage, and both children and Jim were unaccounted for, along with his vehicle, left him with little choice. Despite Anderson's reluctance to consider other theories, the police combed the vicinity of Jim's home, while neighbors recounted sightings of Tina, Ethan, and the family dog entering his residence the evening prior. Jim had hosted a farewell party that night before his planned move to Texas. Concurrently in California, the Amber Alert system was activated, a national mechanism for broadcasting child abduction notices. The community rapidly rallied on social media to disseminate the alert. Marissa, Hannah's closest friend, along with other schoolmates, spearheaded the distribution of flyers in the local area, clinging to the hope that Hannah and Ethan would be safely recovered. Nevertheless, during a meticulous examination of Jim's incinerated home, fire investigators stumbled upon a ghastly find: another cadaver, severely charred. This victim was identified as a child, believed to be Ethan. Upon receiving this dreadful news, Brett was initially in disbelief. However, the realization that his young friend would never return home overwhelmed him, leading to a breakdown. Clinging to the hope that Hannah might still be alive became his sole consolation. Brett had already endured the loss of his wife, son, and even their beloved pet. The thought of also losing his daughter was unbearable. If Jim had abducted Hannah following his actions towards Tina and Ethan, she was in grave peril. To pinpoint their whereabouts, detectives questioned every known associate, friend, and relative of both Hannah and Jim. Jim, who had been a cornerstone in the family and a constant in Hannah's life since her birth, treating her as if she were his own, was beyond reproach in the eyes of the extensive Anderson network. The prevailing theory among many was that an outsider had inflicted harm and abducted them, though no one could conjecture on the identity of such a person. By August 5th, both DiMaggio and Hannah remained untraceable, their phones inactive. Media outlets circulated their images along with detailed profiles, appealing to the public to report any sightings. California's alert system was fully operational, with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children ready to broadcast alerts nationwide. With no alternative suspects, Jim DiMaggio was the focal point of the investigation. The discovery of several trash bags filled with new camping gear in the attic, linked to the garage, hinted at preparations for survival in the wilderness. The find included a camping stove, the remains of a hunting knife's packaging, and a box of handcuffs, intensifying the belief that Jim had escaped with Hannah to a secluded spot, possibly aiming for Mexico or Canada. The search also uncovered explosives, gasoline containers, a tarp, and numerous letters from Hannah that Jim had preserved for undisclosed reasons. The specifics of these letters were kept confidential by the authorities. The investigation sought to unravel Jim's motives for possibly abducting Hannah. It soon emerged that the fire was set deliberately, involving an explosive mechanism with detonators, indicating premeditation. Jim's acquaintances confirmed his proficiency in outdoor survival, suggesting he might be evading capture in the wilderness with Hannah. The case garnered international attention in 2013, leading to a global search for the teenager. At a press conference, Brett directly addressed Jim DiMaggio, pleading for his daughter's release. He implored his once close friend to spare Hannah, having already taken so much from him. The inquiry revealed surveillance footage from the Pine Valley checkpoint, a mere 22 minutes from Jim's residence, capturing Jim's vehicle with Hannah visibly seated next to him. This sighting on August 4th, prior to the fire but after Hannah's last known appearance, offered a glimmer of hope for her well-being. By the time DiMaggio had collected Hannah from middle school at 4 p.m., their phones were already switched off, despite a record of 13 calls between them up to that point. The media speculated wildly about a possible pact between Jim and Hannah, fueled by the discovery of her letters in his attic and their shared outings. Marissa recounted a telling incident to investigators, describing a car ride where Jim expressed discomfort over their teenage banter, confessing his deep affection for Hannah in a manner suggesting he wished for a relationship with her if circumstances were different. This narrative painted Jim as deeply infatuated, possibly driven to extreme measures as Hannah grew older and began distancing herself. The theory posited that Jim's actions, including the arson, were motivated by a desire to isolate Hannah completely. Tina's untimely demise might have been collateral, possibly witnessing a compromising situation between Jim and Hannah, making her an obstacle to Jim's delusional aspirations. A significant development in the investigation unfolded in Idaho on Wednesday, August 7th. The day prior, a group consisting of a former sheriff, Mark John, aged 71, his spouse, and another couple, all seasoned in navigating challenging terrains, went horseback riding in the remote reaches of the Boise National Forest, specifically an area known as the River of No Return. It was there they stumbled upon two peculiar hikers, an adult male and a young female. The duo stood out for their unsuitable attire for the wilderness setting. The girl appeared to be in pajamas and tennis shoes, and the man donned a gray sweatshirt with sneakers, neither equipped with rain gear. Their campsite was ill-chosen, located on a ridge devoid of water sources, signaling their inexperience with hiking. The encounter was marked by the man's protective gesture, pulling the girl close, and their deliberate avoidance of interaction, underscored by the presence of a cat the girl held, adding to their oddity in such a setting. Unbeknownst to the riders at the time, these were the very individuals at the center of a nationwide search. Only after returning home and catching a news report on Jim and Hannah did the realization dawn on them, prompting an immediate alert to law enforcement. This clue was pivotal, especially since a cat had been part of DiMaggio's household, a shared pet between Hannah and him, missing post the fire tragedy. On Friday, a substantial force of law enforcement personnel converged on Cascade, Idaho, targeting the vicinity of the River of No Return. This terrain, unreachable by vehicle, spans millions of hectares filled with dense forests, towering mountains, and deep gullies, effectively cutting off any cell phone signal, a perfect haven for evading detection. The search team, composed of state police, FBI agents, and local law enforcement, meticulously scoured over 400 miles of this harsh landscape. Amidst a camouflage of branches, leaves, and assorted natural cover, they located a blue Nissan, conspicuously without its license plates. However, the vehicle was quickly identified as belonging to DiMaggio. By Saturday, August 10, 2013, an aerial reconnaissance mission by a U.S. Marshals Service aircraft over the forest north of Morche Lake led to a breakthrough. The crew identified a two-person blue tent and two individuals beside the lake, one man disrobing his shirt and a female figure close by. During the flyover, the pilot observed the woman signaling desperately with a piece of fabric, aiming to catch the attention of the plane above. This pair was none other than Jim DiMaggio and Hannah Anderson, marking a pivotal moment in the search operation. The FBI's hostage rescue squad positioned themselves stealthily on the terrain, biding their time to retrieve Hannah from her abductor. Timing was of the essence. As dusk approached and the shadows lengthened, the squad made their move. Jim ventured into the forest to collect more wood for the fire, and Hannah, spotting her rescuers, dashed towards them. DiMaggio, catching sight of his escaping hostage, discharged his weapon, leading the squad to respond in kind. Jim was hit by multiple bullets, succumbing to his injuries. Upon reaching safety, Hannah appeared unharmed but was visibly shaken. She grasped onto the agents, her gaze fixed and her frame quivering. The rescue team promptly flew her to a nearby hospital for immediate evaluation and to reunite her with her father, who had rushed to Idaho. Before Brett's arrival, the FBI disclosed to Hannah the tragic news that her mother and brother had also fallen victim to the crime, perishing in the blaze. Following this, Hannah was prepared to share her account with the authorities. With Jim now deceased, corroborating the exact events became impossible. Hannah recounted that everything began on August 3rd, when Jim organized a goodbye gathering before his departure to Texas. Tina, Ethan, and their dog visited his home, while Hannah herself wished to skip this final encounter. Fearing the potential damage to the long-standing friendship between her parents and DiMaggio, she kept silent about Jim's messages to her on social media, where he veiled his emotions with purported concern. Discovering that Jim, not her mother, was coming to pick her up made her feel sick. In the vehicle, Jim struggled to locate where he was supposed to meet her, prompting Hannah to call him multiple times to direct him. Their interaction was lighthearted, filled with laughter and jokes. Yet upon entering DiMaggio's residence, Hannah noticed the absence of her mother and brother, despite their belongings being scattered around, including her mother's purse with money and cards strewn about. Sensing something amiss, her alarm grew as DiMaggio presented her with handcuffs. The Jim she knew, a longtime family friend, seemed unrecognizable, his eyes void of emotion, as if possessed. He reassured her that Tina and Ethan were safe in the garage with the dog and urged her not to worry. After forcing Hannah to ingest several pills, she eventually lost consciousness. Awakening in Jim's car amidst Red Bull cans signified a night spent driving. Shortly after, she passed out again, believed to have been sedated with a sleeping medication. Hannah described to investigators Jim's threats of retribution if she attempted to signal anyone, instilling fear of making any attempt in the forest. Jim monitored her closely, even during moments requiring privacy. Escape seemed implausible. The rain, her inappropriate attire for prolonged forest exposure, and the pain from carrying a heavy backpack deterred her. Unfamiliar with survival in the wilderness, she felt utterly hopeless. However, seizing an opportunity when Jim was obscured by trees, she signaled to a passing marshal's service plane. The narrative questioned why Hannah was in pajamas after being at school, leaving this detail unexplained. Following several days in the hospital, she returned to San Diego with her father. The circumstances surrounding the shootout that culminated in her rescue remained undisclosed, sparking public speculation and critique, with some questioning Hannah's decisions and others offering support. The Anderson family faced the challenge of shielding Hannah from intrusive media. This tale left many pondering unanswered questions. Despite his immense loss, Brett Anderson remained a pillar of strength, finding comfort in witnessing his daughter's continued growth and pursuit of a fulfilling life. This is the end of the story. Like the video and leave your thoughts in the comments. This was Jeremy. See you soon.